most disturbing and fascinating collections that the Warrens have at their museum are their shrunken heads. Often used for voodoo rituals, they claim that many of these heads have been defiled by evil. Shrunken heads, for those of you who don't know, are severed human heads that have been prepared in a particular way to be used for rituals, trophies, or for trade purposes, often associated with the act of headhunting in regions of the world like the Amazon rainforest with various indigenous tribes. They're also used as a means of scaring off enemies. Which, yeah, totally understand how that works. Would not go anywhere near that. And at number 4, a vampire coffin. While vampires are often portrayed as sex symbols in movies and books, vampires in real life, if they do exist, are allegedly much more dangerous. I can imagine why. Inside the museum, the Warrens have a coffin that is said to have been used by a real-life modern-day vampire. On its front, there's a gothic design, and a photograph of Ed taken upon retrieving the coffin. So, what do you guys think? Is there a chance that vampires really exist? Or are they just a fantasy? There have been cases throughout history of humans drinking blood, claiming that the act is life-sustaining, but whether or not their anatomy is that of what a vampire is supposed to be is actually yet to be scientifically proven. Who knows? Maybe the Warrens have stumbled upon something interesting. And at 3, masks. The Warrens have a variety of strange and obscure masks in their collection from all over the globe, including parts of Africa. They've researched over 3,500 cases, so naturally they've come into contact with many a mask with nefarious origins. One mask was used as a topa for diabolical protection. There are voodoo masks accompanied by ritualistic objects. Others have been possessed, and when someone puts on the mask, they risk becoming possessed themselves. Other masks have previously been possessed and no longer are, but are kept at the museum for safekeeping. Typically, the Warrens keep objects that are still possessed or have risk of harming humans locked within glass cases. So fear not, friends. Although, safety first. Maybe don't try to put on one of their masks. I also imagine it would not smell good. And at number 2, psychic photographs. Psychic photographs, according to Ed Warren, are a fascinating phenomenon in which a camera manages to capture the electromagnetic energy of a spirit, capturing either just the energy source or the apparition which depicts the ghost's spirits. In other words, they're photographs that have ghosts in them. According to Ed, I quote, "The camera is an impartial witness. It takes a picture of what it sees. It's not something that's made up. There are many ways that pictures of ghosts can be taken." He goes on to say that a ghost can actually project its image onto the camera's film by thinking of what it looks like by projecting it telepathically. They bypass your physical eye and go into your mind's eye, or your third eye. Now, some of these photographs are defiled by evil according to the Warrens. They also have other photographs featured at the museum too, depicting heinous acts of Satanism. And for the most part, none of these photographs came in a time when Photoshop actually existed, so who knows? And finally, at number 1, children's tombstones. Outside of the Warren Museum, you can snap a photo of yourself with a collection of tiny tombstones. Now, these tombstones, all of which previously belonged to deceased children, are said to have been used as satanic altars in various rituals. Now, throughout history, tombstones have been used as part of rituals in a practice that is often referred to as satanic ritual abuse, and was considered a subject of moral panic in the US during the 1980s that spread throughout parts of the world in the 90s. It was often associated with individuals who had dissociative identity disorder. It was also the focus of conspiracy theories in which SRA organizations, whose members were allegedly wealthy and powerful, an idol. This lanky, horned, demonic-looking idol was discovered deep in the Connecticut woods. A lone deer hunter was out there with his bow when he came across it. Apparently, the hunter felt an immediate sense of dread and became frightened, and felt the strength leave his body. Freaked out, he made the decision to flee, walking away from it on a footpath. That's when he spotted a man dressed in all black with a white beard, who came seemingly out of nowhere, who was walking in step across from him, not looking at him at all. The hunter tried asking the mysterious man if he knew the way out of the woods, but the man didn't answer him, with words at least. Instead, he just used his finger to point towards the direction. Many people who have gone to the museum have reported feeling chills when they lay their eyes upon this satanic idol. But where exactly it came from originally, who knows? Up next, number 4, the organ. Amongst the collection of satanic objects, demon masks, death curses, and haunted dolls and toys, the Warrens have a much larger haunted item that tends to attract people to their museum, an old organ that reportedly plays all by itself. It's one of the items said to have a spiritual or metaphysical purpose rather than just being strictly haunted or possessed. The organ as an instrument has a long history of association with the horror genre. Often the organ, which is an instrument over 1800 years old, is used in creating bone-chilling music, not just because of how it sounds, but because of its roots in Victorian novels, in which organists would practice playing it at night. Several key publications help perpetuate the idea that the organ was associated with the Gothic or the haunted, including the likes of Phantom of the Opera, which was originally published in 1900. Organ music, including a couple of Bach's symphonies, have been a staple in early horror cinema, including the 1941 Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So all in all, whether the Warrens' organ actually plays itself entirely on its own, or if it's just a well-thought-out gimmick, their organ definitely helps set the mood amongst all of the other allegedly haunted artifacts that the museum harbors. And at number 3, the conjuring mirror. The conjuring mirror is an artifact that is used to perform conjuring rituals. Conjuration or evocation invocation is the act of calling upon or summoning a spirit, a demon, a god, or some other sort of supernatural agent. The rituals and practices have roots that date back to the Romans, with conjuring being used as a threat during a siege, or as a way to divert the god's favor from the enemy and onto the Romans. Now these days, contemporary conjuring aligns more so with witchcraft or ceremonial magic by a variety of techniques. When the ritual is done properly and the spirits are summoned, the spirits are supposed to appear on the mirror's surface through a form of crystallomancy or crystal gazing. According to those at the museum, since there is no way to control whether the spirits that are summoned are going to be good spirits or evil spirits, communication through devices such as the mirror are considered incredibly dangerous. So if you go, maybe don't try it out. Just a thought. In at number 2, the Shadow Doll. The Shadow Doll is one creepy looking fella, and according to the Warrens, it's a vessel to inflict pain on unsuspecting victims. Draped in black with a pale face accented in blue, the Shadow Doll is apparently capable of appearing in your dreams and stopping one's heart. According to Ed Warren, who calls it the Doll of Shadows, it was made through black magic rituals, created for evil purposes, crafted out of human bones and animal parts, including nails, teeth, and crow's feathers. It works in a unique way too. Essentially, you take a photograph of the doll and send it to someone with a specific curse written on the back of that photo. Once the person that you've targeted looks at the photograph of the doll, the image of it can telepathically be projected to them in a dream state, allowing for it to visit them in a nightmare. Apparently, these images within people's dreams have been so powerful at times that they've stopped their hearts while they were sleeping. Now, destroying the doll is only said to have greater horrific consequences, since it will release the spirits that are trapped within it. So how did Ed and Lorraine get their hands on it? Well, a couple who had purchased it from an antique dealer brought it to them after experiencing the same horrible nightmare featuring the doll night and night again, and waking up with scratch marks all over their bodies. The following night, after it first happened, claw marks started to appear on their bodies, which is when they called up the Warrens. According to the Warrens, in a press release, the doll's sole purpose is to wreak havoc upon innocent human beings. And finally, in at number 1, the Anabelle doll. The most famous piece of the Warrens' collection at their museum is without a doubt the Anabelle doll. It was locked up inside of a glass case with a sign in front of it that reads, "Warning, positively do not touch." While it may look like a regular old rag doll, the story behind it is by far more sinister. In 1970, a woman bought a Raggedy Ann-esque doll for her daughter at a thrift shop. Her daughter, Donna, who was in college at the time, liked it and brought it home to her apartment. But soon afterwards, her roommate Angie and her started to notice strange happenings, all of which revolved around the doll. The doll would move by itself. It would appear in rooms other than the one that it was left in. Small pieces of paper with childish writing began to appear in the apartment that read things like "Help us" and "Help Lou," who was one of their male friends. And one day they found the doll standing up on its own. Freaked out, they contacted a medium, who told them that the doll was supposed to be possessed by a little girl who had died in their apartment building a long time ago, named Anabelle. The doll told the medium that she liked Donna and Angie, and wanted to stay with them, asking for their permission. The girl said yes, but by doing so, this allowed for more paranormal activity to occur, including a male friend being